Is Apple truly the Teflon stock? We will ask it again. Guy Adami, answer once again, please.
Today, clearly it is, but historic, go back 5 years. In 2018, since that point, you've seen probably 6, if not 7, 25 to 40% peak to trough decline. So Apple actually goes down at times as well. Apple is currently in, and don't at me if I'm off by one, 354 ETFs, of which Apple is one of its top 15 holdings. So in the world of passive investing where money flows in, Apple's going to win to that. So it sort of makes sense that Apple continues to grind higher. Apple wins when people flee other high growth tech names. The money flows into Apple. At a certain point, though, the musical chairs end and there are no more chairs, and that's when Apple goes down. So it doesn't mean it's not a great company, but at 28 times next year's earnings with single-digit EPS growth, single-digit revenue growth, margins that are probably flatlining, if not declining, the stock is expensive here.
You have lightened up, Karen.
I have. I lightened up last week. That currently the day that was the all-time high, but I can guarantee you, as I said then, it will not be the all-time high if I lightened up. I promise that 100%. But I just feel like the whole space, meaning, FANG, big cap tech, has had huge runs. And the Apple, I actually have a little bit higher PE than you do on that, remembering the hardware part of the business also, which has a lower PE. So that means the rest of it trading at an even higher PE. I don't know. I just felt like I got too much exposure overall. Apple, to me, is the one that I guess is, well, it's the most expensive with the exception now of NVIDIA, which is super expensive. But compared to a Meta or a Google, so I had to lighten. It's painful, but I did.
Yeah, I'd just say that. So Guy mentioned, high single digits earnings growth, mid to high single digits expected sales growth. So, trading 10 turns over the S&P's multiple, it makes up 7.5% of the S&P. It makes up nearly 13% of the NASDAQ 100. And I think what's interesting to me is that we mentioned a couple other names that you said have been selling off over the last week that are truly expensive. They've seen multiple expansion on things that they haven't realized yet. A lot of excitement about technology that hopefully they will be able to harness over the next few years, clearly over the next decade or so. But they pulled forward a lot of excitement around. Apple's not in that situation. If this AI thing hadn't happened in the last 6 months or so, we might have been really excited about spatial computing, about this new Vision Pro that they just launched at their but we're not excited about it. And it's not in the stock right here. But something's in the stock, and maybe it's a flight to the sort of quality, maybe because these 43% gross margins have flatlined right there, and we found this sort of equilibrium between their hardware business, which makes up, let's say, 2/3 of their revenue, and the mix shift with the services and all that sort of stuff. So yes, it's Teflon because it seems to be very defensive, but it's trading at a multiple that it has not in a very long time. And that should make you a bit nervous, because if you see how money can come out very quickly of the most loved, exciting stories, ultimately, if we do have a sustained sell-off, they will come for Apple because it will be an easy source of funds.
Where do you stand on this, Julie? Because when they did come, when Jerome Powell was very hawkish last week, when they came for the other tech stocks, they did not come for Apple. And so maybe Apple is, the premium is justified and you want to pay up for it because it is safety, in a time of uncertainty. It has been, it was during the bank crisis, and it has been in the past week.
A lot of it, I think, is a function, their ability to execute. They just have an uncanny ability to release products that people want. And I think we continue to see that going forward. The real challenge for them is where to find that next incremental $100 million of revenue that they can still generate at a high margin. And I think that's a real challenge for them.